G'day. Uncertainty about the upcoming races in the Middle East. Will Bahrain and Saudi be cancelled? And what would happen if they are? Now, we're due in the Middle East in about 5 weeks' time, but at the moment it's not safe. And many governments have issued do not travel warnings. So in order for us to be racing, those warnings need to be lifted and it needs to be safe. And at this stage, there are meetings going on this weekend to discuss options in case that's not the case. And quite frankly, it's looking unlikely that things will return to normal in the next couple of weeks. One of the major issues is that the teams need to make a decision on where they send equipment after the Chinese Grand Prix. If we're racing in the Middle East, some of that equipment would need to be sent straight after the Chinese race. So it looks like a decision will need to be made by the Sunday night of the Chinese Grand Prix or even earlier. These two races are showcase events for both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, and it would be a shame for them to be cancelled. But in order for them to proceed, both would need to ensure that it is safe to attend, and it's looking very unlikely that that will be the case. So if we're going to rule out those two events in April, could they be rescheduled? That is tough. A lot of people saying, how about we go to Portimao or Turkey or Imola? It's not that easy. Formula One works months in advance. Can't just quickly say, right, in 3 weeks' time we want all of this stuff there, we want all the tickets sold, we want all the paddock club done. It just is too difficult. My money is on there being two races in Japan, one on the 29th of January and one the week after, because at the moment Japan is a standalone race. Of course, if you're going to sell tickets to a race and you're only going to give people a month's notice, it may not be a sellout. But in this case, I think it'd be a good short-term solution and turn what looks like at the moment to be a 22-round 2026 season into a 23-round season. Another thing to bear in mind is that all of the teams have their gear in Bahrain. They left it there at testing. They've also got another set of equipment in Bahrain due to be sent to Jeddah. Some of the teams might have already sent theirs to Jeddah. If these two races don't go ahead, the teams have to then get all of that gear back to their home base or to an upcoming race. One thing's for sure, with so much money on the line, these decisions will not be taken lightly. Now, thanks to Quadlock for sponsoring this video. Check this out. The Quadlock Traverse. Designed in partnership with Thule, this backpack is perfect for everyday adventure. There's a padded sleeve and side zip so I can conveniently store and access my laptop when I'm on the road. The back panel is padded, so it'll be nice and comfortable for me to wear to and from the track, and it's also weather resistant. And that's a huge plus for me, as I'll be carrying valuable camera gear. It doesn't feel like other bags. It feels durable and tough. So if you're like me and travel a lot, or you're heading out on an off-road adventure, or just commuting to work, the Quadlock Traverse is sure to last. Quadlock also kitted me out with extras: the mag bottle mount, plus a tripod and selfie stick. Click the link in the description below to get yours and use my code KimElman for 10% off. Back to the track now. What's it like down in pit lane? Well, everyone's pretty much set up. Ferrari and V-Carb had to work long hours because they arrived in at 10 a.m. Wednesday, the day before media day, and had to pretty much come straight to the track. But it appears that they'll be all set by the time the cars are ready to go on track for FP1 on Friday. And walking along pit lane, above each garage, the signage contains each driver's helmet, their first and last name, and a picture of them. Now, one of the great things about this race is the Melbourne Walk, and if you want to be front row like these people here in Melbourne, I tell you what you need to do. You need to roll up here at about 4:15 a.m, wait out the front there for 5 hours, and then sprint from that gate across to the Melbourne Walk. And even then, you're not guaranteed to be down the front, but for those who are on the front, they have their best chance of meeting their favourite F1 driver, getting an autograph, or perhaps even a selfie. And if you can't make it for the start of the day, know that the drivers will often stop as they head out of the track. And if you find yourself in the middle of the city here at Federation Square, come and have a look at this Williams pop-up. There's 10 of these things. They all fall down at different times. I've got to try and grab one or two. The people prior to me have grabbed very few, so if I get one, I'll be well happy. I'm just going to go for one. Oh, and even then I missed it. And just across the road from the Williams pop-up is Hosier Lane, very colourful. You might have seen an F1 driver or two pose for a selfie down here. Valtteri Bottas was asked in the press conference who he thought might win the World Drivers' Championship. His prediction was Lance Stroll from Fernando Alonso and George Russell. Of course, Aston Martin, in a power of strife at the media conference they held today, they had to admit that their car is vibrating so badly that Fernando Alonso says he can only do 25 laps tops before he loses feeling in his fingers. Lance Stroll said he predicted more like 15. Will they be on track for the practice sessions? We're not sure yet. There's no way that they'll be finishing the race unless the race runs 15 or 25 laps. At this stage, it's a rather sad affair. Lawrence Stroll was in the paddock as well. I imagine he's pretty dark about the fact that he spent a mozza on getting this team to a point where they might win a championship, and now they can't get to the halfway mark of a race. If you happen to play the F1 video game from EA Sports, you'll be intrigued, as I was, to know how they go about capturing the drivers' faces. I followed Esteban Ocon into a separate demountable where he sat facing 28 cameras and facing away from them so that his face would be perfect for the next version of the game. In fact, EA Sports are doing 40 different drivers. I believe they don't do every driver every year. Esteban, in fact, told me that the last time he did it was a couple of years ago, and he also said, go back and have a look at the pictures of me in 2017 and have a look at my lips. Still on the subject of Valtteri Bottas, this is Paul, his manager stroke trainer, and Paul actually found Valtteri his own barista. This is Mick Squires. Paul had Mick make him 5 espressos one day, and he liked the coffee so much. He said to Valtteri, we need this fella making our coffees. So Cadillac said, right, well, let's get him for the Melbourne Grand Prix, or the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Now, for my American followers, Colton Herta is racing in F2, as you probably know. He has his face above the garage. This is his number 4 car. From people I've spoken to, Colton is not that impressed with the car. He says it's a real challenge to drive. We'll get to see him on track on Friday, and I think there's a lot of interest to see how he goes in his very first race. Of course, he's very keen to get himself behind the wheel of the Cadillac, maybe in 2027, depending on how he goes and how Valtteri and Checo go. I caught Lewis Hamilton coming out of the Ferrari hospitality this week, crossing the paddock, going to the garage, carrying a bizarre-looking helmet. Not a real helmet. Well, yeah, I don't think it'll be any good in the car. This is indeed a Lego helmet. A surreal sighting. I had a look at the World Drivers' Championship trophy tonight, and yes, Lando Norris's signature is on it. The 2025 World Drivers' Champion. Now, in pit lane, I was most impressed to see this Kit Kat promotion. What this is a camera tower, but branded for Kit Kat. And impressive. This particular fan asked Gabriel Bortoleto to sign his forehead. Not the first time I've seen this. I've seen a friend of mine in Mexico City had Charles Leclerc sign her forehead, not once, but 3 nights in a row. But this fella here, he was pretty happy with the result. Every driver showed up to have their portrait taken in the paddock today. George was the most engaging by far, happy, chatty and jolly. Franco too was in good spirits. Newlywed Charles Leclerc was his genial self, as was Esteban Ocon, and Lance Stroll was the most efficient, staying a mere 15 seconds. Pierre Gasly was late as he had to shed some weight quickly for his FIA weigh-in. That involved a few visits to the toilet. And reserve driver Yuki Tsunoda was delighting sponsors, wearing the latest team shirt, carrying a can of Red Bull and holding a Yeti bag. But his jeans were his, from Evisu in Japan. A big weekend coming up, so please make sure you're following me on social media. Now, before I go, could you please hit the like button? For those unsubscribed, you can remedy that by hitting this button. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.